Welcome back to another Omni Garage video. We're here in the garage again. We've got the test pilot behind us that we've been chipping away at for the last couple of weeks. And in front of us here, we have the latest and greatest from Rupes in the iBrid range. This is the HLR75, the Mini. Essentially what this is, it's the 18-volt battery operated replacement for the existing 3-inch Rupes tool. Now, we've probably had a good couple of 100 hours on that previous tool. Should I say combined, but Glenn behind the camera has probably only had about 10% of that.
But then when we compare it to the 5-inch, yeah, I'm up on that one.
You definitely are. I have absolutely hogged the 3-inch machine. I really enjoy working with it. The torque on that previous one was fantastic. So now we've got this. We have some time under our belt on this as well. So I want to walk you through exactly what you get in the kit here and tell you everything that you need to know. So we bought the kit of this tool here. So you can buy a tool only version. The reason that we got the kit, two reasons actually. So first of all is right now here in New Zealand, we buy our Rupes tools through a company called Wyatt Machine Tools. Now, Wyatt Machine Tools only have the kit right now. So if we wanted it, this was the way it was going to come. Now, I'm really happy that we did that because this is a really nice case that it comes in. It's exactly the same as what the Rupes iBrid Nano, the short neck and the long neck come in as well. If we open up the kit here, what you've got inside is a foam inlay, and everything has a place and a home inside the kit here. So we've got obviously the tool itself, which we'll come back to in a moment. We have a battery charger for the 18-volt battery. This system here comes with two. So you have your spare battery and then your battery that is attached to the tool itself. In the kit, we've also got a couple of polishers here. So we've got Rupes' new DA Fine and DA Coarse. And then if we actually lift the main foam inlay out here, what we've got is some consumables. So we've got a couple of wall pads, we've got some coarse wall pads, we have a coarse foam pad, and then we also have some Rupes microfiber towels. We did get a fine pad as well, which has already been opened, and then we've got the power cord so we can hook everything up there, get our batteries charged. It's a really nice kit. It's nice that everything has a home in here. One of the things that I really like about this as well is on the top of the box here, you have an itemized list of everything that comes in here and the optional extras as well. So if you needed to go out and you wanted to buy another battery, you've got the exact code on there. You can go on the website and you can purchase it. What this kit does not come with is this here, so the power supply. Now, Rupes have the iBrid system, and essentially what iBrid means is that it's dual function. You've got your battery system via the 18-volt batteries, and you can also attach a power supply and run off the wall, essentially. So it gives you the dual capability to go, hey, I want to work cordless, or no, I'm happy to be constrained by a cord to get that endless runtime. Really, really nicely put together. And then obviously it can stack as well, but I think that's a whole lot nicer than buying the tool only and having to store that, getting to put it in this kit right here. So the first thing that you need to know about this new iBrid Mini is exactly what you can see. So the form factor of this is very, very different from the corded 3-inch tool. and pretty much any other tool in the Rupes range, minus the Nano. That's a little bit of an oddity, but it's very, very different in the fact that you've got trigger on the top here, and you're going to hold this machine a little bit different. So when we're polishing with this, we're holding it more in a fashion where we're using our thumb to engage the trigger there. I find ergonomically that's the best way to hold it. You're not holding it like this and leaning over, although you could do that if you were working an area on the car where you wanted to lean a bit more and didn't want your whole body across. But what I found with this is that you're going to have to kind of retrain your brain on how you operate the 3-inch tool. Not going to be the same for everyone, but I think the way that you're going to want to use this is your hand on the end in order to support it. You're going to have your palm here, and you're going to use your thumb in order to engage the trigger on the machine. So the second and probably the most important thing that you need to know about this tool is this. It is the 18-volt battery system. So you get 2 of these with the tool. They are 2.5 amp hour each. And the way that you engage these is you simply insert it at the bottom of the tool and you click it in. So with the battery, depending on what pad you attach to the end of the tool here, you're going to get between 35 and 45 minutes of run time. Now, Rupes quote that you're going to get that 35 minutes when you are using a pad like the Rupes Wool. If you're using something like a foam pad, it's going to be less run time. Now, the great thing about buying the kit is you get 2 of these batteries. The charge time is 35 minutes. So if you think about that, you can always have your second battery on charge, 35 minutes, you're going to get between 35 and 45 minutes runtime on the machine. So theoretically, you can just continuously swap these out without any issue. Now, if you do want to continuously run this and not have to worry about swapping batteries, you can buy the power supply kit, which essentially is the same shape as this, except it has a cord on the end and you would slide it into the machine. It's an optional extra, so we don't have it with the kit here, and I think it's completely unnecessary. Stick with your 2 batteries, have one on charge, swap it out. The beauty of this tool, why I think this is so great and why you need to replace your corded machine, is the fact that it is cordless. If you're going with a corded machine, you're probably better to stick with the existing tool, which is slightly torquier in our experience. So the third thing that you want to know about this tool is the way it actually operates. So obviously we're wireless, which is fantastic. We know that we have to hold it slightly differently than a normal Rupes machine. Now what we've got here is what looks to be a variable trigger. On the side, we have our speed setting. So this goes from 3,000 to 5,500 RPM. What you would find here, looking at this, you'd expect this to be variable because you do have that ability to depress it like so. Now it's not. You get to a point and you'll hear in the noise of the machine, it is not variable. So it is single speed once you've got it in operation. Now obviously what you can do is once it is running, you can play around with your speed here. And this is the way that I'd recommend that you are using the machine. What I found with this is that it is quite frustrating that that's not variable. And the reason why is when you are spreading polish across the surface of the car, it'd be really nice to leave this in the speed setting that you intend to continue polishing at and just feather the throttle or the lever on the machine there in order to spread it. What you do have to do is you need to dial this back and spread your product on the lower setting and then dial it up. What would have been really nice is if Rupes had made that a true variable trigger and you could just ease onto it in the existing speed setting in order to spread your product around the paint. Now, while we're on the topic of the trigger on here, something that you're going to need to keep in mind and something that was quite frustrating, it was a bit of a learning curve for us, is you need to flick this off every time you set the machine down. The reason why, what we found is we were leaving this machine on the setting on the speed setting that we were polishing it with, and when we went to go and reapply product, when you put this down and you went to the ground here, you would bump this trigger. because it is really, really easy. This is a light trigger. We would find that you'd set it down, and even if you set it on an angle, at times you would go and bump the trigger on there, throwing polish everywhere. So a good habit to get into with this machine is every time you go to set it down, dial that back to 0. But it's really easy to do so. You can operate that with your thumb, especially if you are operating the machine in this manner here. Just make sure you get into the habit, or you are going to fling polish all over the garage and all over the car that you're working on. Now, the final thing that you want to know about this tool is the performance. So once you actually take the backing plate cover off here, and I actually really like this. It's very different from the previous ones that were on the other machines that we've got that really were just like a piece of fabric. This has got a bit of foam to it as well. It just feels a bit more substantial. So once we've got that off the tool, we can go and apply our pad of choice. So this is the Rupes foam, the fine foam cutting pad. Now, what I was really anxious about with this tool is the previous 3-inch corded had awesome torque. I found like I could use it on a relatively low setting. And where torque is important is when you do get to contours in the surface of a car's paint, you don't get that pad stall as much if you can torque through it. Now, the great thing about this tool here is it has a lot of torque. I wouldn't say it was quite at the same level as the previous, but the way Rupes have designed the brushless motor in here is essentially, they call it almost a triple action. So what happens is the motor inside the tool is producing power, and inside here there is essentially 3 little cogs. So it's downscaling or downsampling that speed. And what it means is that you've got a lot of power in terms of headroom. So when you do get to a point where you feel like it's stalling, the machine can kick through more power, which means that you're unlikely to get that pad stall. Now, all in all, I think if you compared the two machines on torque, this has less, but it has plenty enough to get the job done. Now, what we found is that probably the speed settings on here, we were somewhere between 3 and 4 when we were polishing, finish polishing. When we were compounding, we were going up a bit higher to probably about 4.5, if not just on 5. So I find in comparison to the corded tool, we probably were amping it up a little bit more. On that previous one, we were cutting on about 3.5, so our compounding, 3.5 to 4. And then when we were finished polishing, we were probably around the 3 mark, very really under. Now, the other thing that we were concerned about, especially in a setting like this, where we want to be able to operate late at night in a residential area, is the noise of the machine. Just not something that we could do with any of the corded Rupes tools without creating too much of a disturbance. This here, I'm pretty confident that in most settings, we could use this. I'd be confident coming into the garage here in the middle of the night and not waking up neighbors, not waking up my family who are a couple of rooms away. It operates at a really, like, we're speed 4 now, and I feel like the frequency of the noise, it's not a whine, it's more of a hum, I think, there. Even if we cranked it full speed there, I'm not really needing to raise my voice an awful lot to talk over that. So if you were doing your compounding, you're probably about here. And if you were finished polishing, you'd probably be about here. So I think that you can comfortably use this tool in pretty much any condition without driving people nuts with the noise of it. So that is pretty much everything that you need to know about the Rupes HLR75 Mini. This is an awesome improvement. I'm stoked that we've got this in our arsenal now. And I think the main thing for me is that it runs off the 18-volt battery system. So we're not having to deal with the cord, which was so frustrating, especially when you're going outside, having to blow pads out. You're getting tangled as well when we're working with multiple machines in the garage. Like, the convenience factor for this, I almost feel more tempted to bring this out on more occasions just to work on small areas. And the example of that is the car that we've got behind us here. We've been able to chip away at this. We haven't had to deal with a cord, and it doesn't sound like a big thing, but in reality it is, because it's not just the fact that you don't have to plug it in, but you're not having to manage with that cord over your shoulder as well while you're polishing. If we could make one recommendation on this tool here, and Rupes, we hope you're listening, is this. Please make this a variable trigger on a upcoming iteration to this tool. The reason we want that is we want to be able to spread product around the surface of the car without needing to dial the speed back every time. It'd just be nice to be able to ease into it rather than this being exactly what it is right now, where it's one speed at all times, no matter where you depress this lever. So we highly recommend this tool. if you already have the 5-inch Rupes machine and you're looking for another one to buy, this has got to be number 2. If you don't have any machines, go and get that 5-inch first. This would be the second. And then the third one, which is a nice to have, is the Nano, which we will talk about in another video because we're lucky enough to also have the long neck version of that. I think that for Omni Garage, I could see us having a second one of these, which would be great when we're working on a car together and we're both wanting to work in different areas. The other way that it could come in handy having 2 of these is to have one for your compounding and then one for your finish polish if you are polishing in a manner where you are finishing full sections of the car rather than doing a 1 step all the way around and then coming back for your second step. So that's a really quick overview with everything that we think you need to know about the Rupes 75 Mini. If you have any questions at all for us or want us to create any specific content with this tool, drop a comment below, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got heaps more detailing content, heaps of tool content, and heaps of car content that you guys can check out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.